Hello students, welcome to the CA Foundation Come CLAT lecture series sponsored by Sri Jendra Rank Zone. This is lecture number 3 in the Indian Contract Act, which is an interlinked subject between both CA Foundation as well as CLAT lecture series. I am your mentor Shekhar Gehlot. Now in this lecture we will understand the contract on the basis of formation of contract. Okay, we have discussed the contract on the basis of different issues, on the basis of essentialities as well. Now we'll discuss the contract on the basis of formation of the contract. Okay, now contract after when they are formed, when they are entered into, contract can be an express contract. You may have heard this word express train. Okay, express train. Simply express means, sorry, not express train, but expression. Express word has been used here to mean expression. Expression means when you express something in clear way. Okay, express something in clear way. So contracts which are formed on the basis of expression meant on the clear way. Okay, a contract would be expressed contract if the terms are expressed by words or in writing. So how does one express itself? Okay, if we talk about expression of a human will express himself either by words or by in writing in very clear format. Okay, he can express, a human being can express in a lot of ways. Okay, but clear expression is either by using words or in writing. Section 9 of the Act provides that if a proposal or acceptance of any promise is made in words, the promise is said to be express. Okay, when something is done by oral or written means, it becomes express contract. A tells B on telephone that he offers to sell his house for 2 lakhs, and B in reply informs A that he accepts the offer. This is an express contract. Okay. Because A has telephoned and told verbally, and B has also informed verbally. That becomes an express contract. Now, something called implied contract. Now, implied is expression by conduct. Okay, expression by conduct. You can express yourself by your conduct as well. Sometimes one may not feel about writing or speaking, but he may express himself by his conduct. Then it is called that implied contract. He is implying something. Okay, by actions. Implied contracts in contrast to express contracts come into existence by implication. Most often, the implication is by law and or by action. Either the implication will be by law or by your own actions. Section 9 of the Act contemplates such implied contracts when it lays down that, insofar as such proposal or acceptance is made otherwise than in words, as such proposal or acceptance is made otherwise than words, not in words but otherwise than in words, some other form, the promise is said to be implied. Promise is said to be implied. Let us take an example where a coolie in uniform. Now there's a coolie and he is wearing uniform. So now when I go on the railway station, I know that this person is a coolie. He picks up the luggage of A to be carried out of the railway station without being asked by A. A does not ask a coolie. Oh, okay. A drops down on a platform of a railway platform, and the soon he drops down on the platform, drops his luggage on the ground. A coolie comes and picks it up. Okay, and A does not stop him. A allows him to do so. A does not say anything. Now coolie has picked up the luggage. He is carrying the luggage, and he goes out and drops it outside the station at his cab or at his car. Okay, now A cannot say that I never asked you to do so. You did it on your own without my permission. So now I will not pay you. Okay, why? Because A has entered into an implied contract with the coolie. A has, by his action, when coolie picked up the luggage, A did not say anything, and the coolie took the luggage. A started walking with the coolie. Okay, so A did not stop or refuse coolie that you please release my belongings, I'll carry them myself. So in this case, A is bound by the implied contract. A's actions were such that now A is bound by a contract entered impliedly by his actions. He is entering into a contract by his actions. Tacit contract. The word tacit means silent. Silence contracts. Okay. Contract which are entered silently without speaking. No one says anything. Tacit contracts are those that are inferred through the conduct of parties without any words spoken or written. Like this contract, contract can also be called a kind of tacit contract here. This example is also a kind of tacit contract. A classic example of tacit contract would be when cash is withdrawn by a customer of a bank from the automatic teller machine. Okay, when I go and put my card in the ATM and withdraw the money, then there is a contract, okay, between me and the bank that I am withdrawing the money. But I am not saying anything, neither the banker is available there, only a machine is there, I am there, nobody is speaking, nobody is saying anything. Another example of tacit contract is where a contract is assumed to have been entered when a sale is given effect to at the fall of hammer in an auction of sale. It is not a separate form of contract but falls within the scope of implied contracts. It falls within the scope of implied contracts only. Okay, like a vegetable vendor. Okay, a vegetable vendor leaves some tomatoes outside B's house. B consumes them. Okay, B never asked him to put those tomatoes outside his house, but A is a vegetable vendor. He somehow has left those tomatoes outside B's house and B has consumed them. Now B must pay. Okay, B must pay for it. It is actually a tacit and implied contract. Quasi contract. Quasi means appears like or looks like. Okay, appears like or looks like a contract. Quasi contract means which looks like a contract, which appears like a contract. They are also a contract. Now we are discussing contract on the basis of formation of contract. So contract can be a quasi contract as well. Let's understand. A quasi contract is not an actual contract. It is not an actual contract, okay? But it resembles a contract. It just resembles a contract. It appears like a contract. It looks like a contract. It is created by law under certain circumstances. The law creates and enforces legal rights and obligations when no real contract exists. Okay, the law creates and enforces legal rights and obligations when no real contract exists, when there was no contract at all. Such obligations are known as quasi contracts. In other words, it is a contract in which there is no intention on part of either party to make a contract, but law imposes a contract upon the party. Okay, there is no intention between these parties to enter into a contract, but still law says that you must fulfill this contract. Okay, now how can there be a contract when parties never intended to be a contract? Okay, because when we read about the essentials of the contract, we understood it as an essential that parties must intend to create a legal obligation. But there are certain situations in which parties may not intend to create a legal obligation or enter into a legal contract, but still law, because law is supervening, law is applicable everywhere and we cannot escape the gravity of the law. So in some situations, a situation may appear where law may say that no, Now you people are bound by the contract, and those contract are called quasi contract, quasi contract. Okay. Now let us take an example. Obligation of finder of lost goods to return them to the true owner, or liability of person to whom money is paid under mistake to repay it back cannot be said to be aroused out of contract, even in its remotest sense, as there is neither offer and acceptance nor consent. These are said quasi contract. Okay. Now let us do them. Have an example. A finds a mobile phone. A finds a mobile phone belonging to B. Okay. Now A never asked for the mobile phone. B never gave the mobile phone. A does not know B. B doesn't know A. But still, because he has find this mobile phone on the road, he now must give it back to B. Now law says you must return it to B. This is a kind of contract between you now, you and A, you and B, that now you have to return the mobile to B. You cannot keep the mobile there with yourself. He may have left the mobile there only. That is a different issue. But if he finds the mobile, he keeps the mobile, he has to return it. Though the people are completely stranger, but still there exists a contract. This contract is called quasi contract. Suppose now B was a tourist. Okay. A lives in Delhi. Okay. Now A telephones B somehow that I have your phone, please take it back from me. B says I cannot come to Delhi, please come to Mumbai and give it to me. Okay, now B must repay travel and accommodation costs incurred by A. This is also a quasi contract now. They never uttered, nobody ever entered in this contract that you come to Mumbai and I'll pay you this thing, or I'll pay you money. Okay, but because he went to deliver the phone, he was under an obligation by the law to return the phone. So, in order to fulfill his obligation, he went to Mumbai to deliver the phone back to this person B. Now B must repay travel accommodation incurred by A. Now what travel and accommodation cost, they are reasonable. Okay, they are reasonable. Like he can just pay him a train fare and a normal 2 3 accommodation. A cannot say I came by the business class flight and I stayed in a 7-star hotel, so you must pay me a flight ticket and a 7-star hotel accommodation. No, it has to be reasonable. He could have come by the train and he could have comfortably stayed in a 2 to 3 star hotel. That is the reasonable expense which B must pay to the A. That is the quasi contract. Okay, contract like this is a contract like situation, but they never entered into a contract. Okay, or money is paid under mistake. Okay, sometimes it happens in the electronic age that we wanted to transfer 10,000 rupees to somebody else, but because of some change in the account number, some misentry of account number in 2 to 3 digits or even one digit, it went to B by mistake. Now B must repay it back. B must pay 10,000 rupees back to A. B cannot keep it itself, keep it to himself. Okay, there is no contract between these two people. They two people are completely strangers. Nobody knows each other. But now court says that though you never entered into a contract, neither was there any intention between you. Never you asked for 10,000 rupees, neither he intended to give 10,000 rupees to you. But because it's a quasi contract, B must now pay 10,000 rupees back to A. E contracts. This is also a latest form of contract now since last 10 years. A lot of e-contract is happening. We are every time purchasing something from the Swiggy or Amazon or Flipkart, and a lot of commercial websites available on the internet, Facebook, Google Play Store, and so many apps are there, Paytm, etc. They also enter into contract with us whenever we transact with them. That is called e-contract. E-contract means electronic contract. Word e signifies electronic. Contract enter into electronic form. When a contract is entered into by two or more parties using electronics means, such as emails, is known as e-commerce contracts. Okay. In electronic commerce, different parties, persons create networks which are linked to each other through electronic data interchange. It should be EDI, not ED1. Electronic data interchange. This helps in doing business transactions using electronic mode. These are known as EDI contracts or cyber contracts or mouse click contracts. Okay. So whenever you open a site, whenever you register yourself with a site, they ask you your details, and then there's a pop-up window which asks you that these are policy terms and conditions. Click agree or not. If you agree, you proceed. If you don't agree, you go back. So you click on the agree and then you proceed ahead. That is a contract which you have now entered with that company. Okay, that is e-contract. On the basis of performance of the contract. Okay, now we are on the third kind of third classification of contracts on the basis of on the basis of performance of the contract. How a contract has to be performed. One is executed contract. Okay, the consideration in a given contract could be an act or forbearance. Like we have already discussed, consideration could be either you do something or you do not do something or you don't do anything. Like forbearance, we had discussed the example that I will pay you 250 rupees if you promise that you will not take up any employment in the similar industry after quitting my job. That is forbearance. Okay. Or could be an act. Act means I'll construct a house for you. I will act and I will construct a house. Okay. When the act is done or executed, or the forbearances, or the other example of forbearance can be okay. A says I will publish your book, but in return I'll pay you something as well, but I will have the copyrights to republish this book. Tomorrow you will not go to any other publisher and say that now you publish my books, this book has become successful, you publish it. No. A has purchased those rights, and what is the consideration for A? Forbearance of B, that B will never get it published from any other publisher. When the act is done or executed, or the forbearance is brought on record, then the contract is executed contract. When it is done, then and there only. Okay, or when it is done, when this duty is performed, it becomes an executed contract. Executed means completed, fulfilled. Completed or fulfilled. When a grocer sells a sugar on cash payment, it is an executed contract because both the parties have done what they were to do under the contract. Grocer has delivered the sugar, he has made the cash payment, then and there only. Contract is an executed contract. Executory contract. Some contracts are executory. which are ongoing contracts. They are still going on, yet to be performed or yet to be fulfilled. Like, I will construct a school for you, but it will take 2 years. For 2 years, that contract will remain an executory contract. After 2 years, it will become executed contract, but till the time it is not completed, it will remain an executory contract. In an executory contract, the consideration is a reciprocal promise or obligation. Such consideration is said to be performed in future. It is going to be performed in future only. Okay, and therefore these contracts are described as executory contracts, like we discussed the example of Reliance. Okay, now this is a perfect example of executory contract. Reliance contracts a farmer to purchase its crop upon harvest for 25 rupees per kg price. Okay, Abhi, till now at this stage, farmer has not even tilled the soil. He has not even s- sowed the seeds. He has not done anything. The land is still a vacant land. So he will grow the seed, he will grow the soil, and he will harvest the soil. The crop will be ready to be harvested after 8 months from today. Right now, there is nothing there. Okay, so but they have entered into contract that after harvest, 25 rupees per kg price. This is an executory contract. It is to be performed in future only. Okay, when it will be performed in future, it will be an executed contract after performance. Till then, it is an executory contract. Where G agrees to take the tuition of H, a pre-engineering student, from next month, and H in consideration promises to pay G 1000 rupees per month. The contract is executory because it is yet to be carried out. Unilateral or bilateral kinds of executory contracts are not separate kinds. Okay, unilateral executory contract or a bilateral executory contract, they are the same species as executory contract. They are part of the executory contract only, though they may have some differences. Like in a unilateral contract is a one-sided contract in which one party has performed his duty or obligation and the other party's obligation is outstanding. Where one party has performed its duty, other party's obligation is still outstanding. Suppose in this case, Reliance says 25 rupees per kg price, and it is estimated that your crop harvest is going to be 100 kg. So Reliance has paid the money in advance. You take 2500 rupees today only. After 8 months, I will come and collect the crop. So for Reliance, the contract is executed. But for farmer, the contract is executory contract. Since it is executory only for one party, that is unilateral executory contract. Okay, because one party has performed the part of promise, other party is yet to do it. M advertises payment of award. M advertises payment of an award of 5000 rupees to anyone who finds his missing boy and brings him. Now, M is a person whose boy has gone missing, small child has gone missing, and he publishes an award that I'll pay 5000 rupees to anyone who will find my missing boy. As soon as B traces the boy, now B has traced the boy, he has found the boy. There comes into existence an executed contract between B because B has performed his share of obligation. Now for B, the contract is executed. Okay, because what B was required to do, he has found the son. He has found the son. His part of the obligation is done. It remains for M to pay the amount of reward to B, but M is yet to pay 5000 rupees to B. So for M side, it is unilaterally executory contract. For B, it is unilaterally executed contract. Okay. Bilateral contract, bilateral executory contract. A bilateral contract is one where the obligation or promise is outstanding on the part of both the parties. A promise to sell his plot to B for 1 lakh cash down, but B pays only 25,000 rupees as earnest money and promises to pay the balance on next Sunday. On the other hand, A gives the possession of the plot to B and promises to execute a sale deed on the receipt of the whole amount. The contract between A and B is executory because there remains something to be done on both sides. Executory contracts are also known as bilateral contracts. Okay, these kinds of contracts are bilateral executory contracts where both parties are supposed to do something on the future date. Now we go to definition of offer and proposal. We have been discussing a lot about that. One party will make an offer, other party will accept the offer. But what is that offer or what is that proposal? How to identify whether a valid proposal or offer was made or not? Now we deal it with the Indian Contract Act. It tells you that what are the essentials of a valid offer, okay, and how an offer is made legally, which binds other person. According to Section 2A of the Indian Contract Act 1872, when one person signifies to another his willingness to do or to abstain from doing anything with a view to obtaining the assent of that other to such act or abstinence, he is said to make a proposal. We have understood that promise can be willingness to do something or to abstain something. Okay, forbearance, we have discussed it, the example from doing anything with a view to obtaining the assent. Now he is doing something or not doing something with a view so that the other person agrees to my such doing or non doing. He is said to be making a proposal. This is a kind of proposal to do something. I will sell my car to you for rupees 2 lakh. Will you buy? Okay. This is not to do something. I will not get my book published from anyone else other than you. Will you publish? This is to do something, this is not to do something. This is kind of a proposal. Why will you publish or will you buy? What is this? He is trying to get the assent of the
It's
other
9
person.
o'clock.
That do you agree? Do you agree? Analyze the above definition. Essentials of a proposal offer are. Now, what are the essentials of a proposal or the offer? Essentials of a proposal, I should say essentials of a valid proposal or offer are: the person making the proposal or offer is called the promiser or offerer. Okay, the person who is making a promise is called promiser or offerer. The person to whom the offer is made is called the offeree, and the person accepting the offer is called the promisee or acceptor. Okay, so someone who is making a promise or offer is called offerer. To whom it is made is called offeree or offeree. And when such offeree accept the proposal, he is said to be a promisee or acceptor. For a valid offer, the party making it must express his willingness to do or not to do something. Mere expression of willingness does not constitute an offer. Merely expressing a willingness will not constitute an offer. He must, the one who is making an offer, the offerer or the promiser, must express the willingness to do something or not to do something. Okay. Mere expression of willingness does not constitute an offer. Now we'll understand it with the help of an example that what we are discussing. Where A tells B that he desires to marry by the end of 2017. It does not constitute an offer of marrying marriage by A to B. Okay, therefore, to constitute a valid expression of willingness must be made to obtain the assent, acceptance of the other person. Thus, if in the above example A further adds, "Will you marry me?" it will constitute an offer. Anyhow, this is not a suitable example because it's a social obligation. We'll do for a real commercial example. It is like A, "I want to sell my car for rupees 2 lakhs." A tells B that I want to sell my car for rupees 2 lakhs. B says I will purchase it for rupees 2 lakhs. A refuses to sell. B goes to the court for enforceability of the contract. B goes to the court and says that there is a valid contract. He made a proposal. I accepted the proposal now and I am willing to pay the price. Now direct him to sell the car to me. Here, this is not a valid contract. Why? Because there is no such offer at all. He only expressed his desire to be. He says he only tells me that I want to sell my car for rupees 2 lakh. This is not a valid offer. For a valid offer, it should have been I will. This is a valid offer. When he said to be that he wanted to sell the car for 2 lakhs rupees and will you buy it? He is trying to get his assent now. Whether he would agree or not, he is trying to find out this. And he says yes, then it's a valid contract. But merely by expression that I just want to sell my car for rupees 2 lakh, it does not automatically become a valid offer. So this contract cannot be enforced. An offer can be positive as well as negative. Thus, doing is a positive act and not doing or abstinence is a negative act. Nonetheless, both of these acts have the same effect in the eyes of law. We have discussed this. Let's read the example. A offers to sell his car to B for 3 lakhs. Is an act of doing. He is doing something. He is selling the car. So in this case, A is making an offer to B. On the other hand, when A asks B after his car meets with an accident with B's scooter not to go to the court and A will pay the repair charges to B for the damage to B's scooter, it is an act of not doing or abstaining. Okay. Now A and B, A's car has hit the scooter which belongs to B and the scooter has some accidental damage now and B says I will go to the court and complain. A says no, you don't go to the court, do one thing, I will pay for the charges for the repairing of your scooter. This is the act of not doing, okay, that you do not go to the court, okay. So it is a negative offer and a positive offer we can differentiate. The willingness must be expressed with a view to obtain the assent of the other party to whom the offer is made. We have discussed this. Now let us see kinds of offer. How many kinds of offers are there in the Indian Contract Act? Okay, we can distinguish between the offer on the two bases: how it is made, whether it's an express offer or whether it's an implied offer. To whom made? Is it a general offer or is it a specific offer? Okay, so now we'll have further differentiations: general offer, special offer, counter offer, cross offer, standing offer. So these are the kinds of offers available in the Indian Contract Act. Now we will read in detail what these offers are. A general offer. Okay, it is an offer made to the public at large. General means not applicable. Here in this case, A has agreed to sell his car to B. Now B is a special person or a specific person to whom the offer is made. So this offer is not going to be a general offer. But sometimes you see there are sites like OLX.com, okay, OLX.com or Amazon, where what is happening, these sellers have displayed their products and anyone who is willing to pay the price can buy them. These kinds of offers are not made to be alone. They are made to A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, anyone who is willing to buy them. So it becomes a general offer. It is an offer made to public at large, and hence anyone can accept and do the desired act. In terms of the Section 8 of the Act, anyone performing the conditions of the offer can be considered to have accepted the offer. Okay, anyone who fulfills the condition of the offer has accepted the offer. Until the general offer is retracted or withdrawn, it can be accepted by anyone at any time as it is a continuing offer. This is a general offer. He has made a general offer to anyone who discovers his son and brings him back to him. But okay, but later on he withdrew his offer. And after that B finds the son and brings him back to A. Now B will not get the 5,000 rupees here because offer has been retracted or withdrawn. Okay. Till the time it was not retracted or withdrawn, it was standing offer, anyone could have accepted it. Okay. Now the case law on this is Carlyle, Carlyle versus Carbolic Smokeball Company case. This is a classic case on which this whole general offer scenario is based. Okay, it appeared in 1893. What are the facts of this case? Let's discuss. In this famous case, Carbolic Smokeball Company. This was a company, Carbolic Smokeball, advertised in several newspapers that a reward of £100 would be given to any person who contracted influenza. Influenza is a kind of flu. After using the smoke balls produced by the Carbolic Smoke Company, according to the printed directions. If you use our smoke balls and use them as per the printed directions, you will not contract influenza. And if still you contract influenza, we will pay you £100. £100. Okay, it is they were claiming it to be a kind of vaccine. One name, one lady, Mrs. Carlyle, used the smoke balls as per the directions of the company and even then suffered from influenza. And she went to the court that you pay me £100 now. The company said no, we will not pay you £100. It was a general offer. The offer was not made to you. Okay, it was a general offer. The defense of the Carbolic Smoke Ball Company in this case was that it's a general offer. It was not made to you. We never made an offer to you. We never made an offer to you. So you could not have offer. You could not have accepted our offer. It was merely a marketing stunt. So we are not liable to pay you £100. But court said that the kind of offer which was made by the Carbolic Smoke Ball Company was a general offer, and anyone at the time, anyone could have accepted the offer and acted upon it. So going upon this offer, Carlyle purchased the smoke ball company, smoke balls, and used it as per the direction, but still she contracted influenza. She brought a case that I have accepted the offer. I am the promisee. I have accepted the offer. Now you must pay me back £100. Court said she could recover the amount as by using a small pulse she had accepted the offer. Another case is Lalman Shukla versus Gauri Dutt. It is also a celebrated case. G. Gauri Dutt sent his servant L.S. Lalman to trace his missing nephew. Okay, he sent his servant Lalman to trace the missing nephew. He then announced after Lalman has gone to trace the missing nephew, he then announced that anybody who traced his nephew would be entitled to a certain reward, say 500 rupees. Okay, Lalman traced the boy in ignorance of his announcement. Lalman, when he traced the boy, he was ignorant of the announcement. He did not know that there is such announcement made by Gauridat. Subsequently, when he came to know of the reward, he claimed it. But later on, when he came to know that there was such offer by Gauridat, he said, You pay me the reward." But Gauridat refused to pay the reward later on. So Lalman went to the court. Okay, court held he was not entitled to the reward as he did not know the offer. Court held only even if an offer may be a general offer, but till the time you do not know the offer, okay, you perform the condition. When you are performing a condition, you are not aware that any such offer. Okay, you did not do so because of the offer. You did so, and later on you came to know that there is some offer as well. So you are not entitled to claim the reward because when the offer was made, you were not aware of the offer. Okay. Special or specific offer. When the offer is made to a specific or ascertained person, it is known as a specific offer. Specific offer can be accepted only by that specified person to whom the offer has been made. Bolton versus Jones. Okay, this is the celebrated case for specific or special offer. A offers to sell his car to B at a certain cost. This is a specific offers like we discussed. Okay. When you have a specified person, it is a Bolton versus Jones. In this case, it came out. Cross offer. When two parties exchange identical offers in ignorance at the time of each other's offer, the offers are called cross offers. There is no binding contract in such case because offer made by a person cannot be construed as acceptance of the another's offer. Okay. Now in this case, what is happening? Two parties are making offers to each other. These are counter offers, sorry, cross offers. Okay, these are cross offers. Now A is making an offer to B. B did not accept A's offer, but B made same offer to A. A has also not accepted the offer, so there is no binding contract. Okay, we'll understand this with the example here. If A makes a proposal to B to sell his car for 2 lakhs, and B without knowing the proposal of A. Now A made a proposal to B. Suppose A writes an email to B, okay, that I want to sell my car for 2 lakhs to you. But B did not see this email. There are so many emails, we usually do not read all of them. Okay, so B did not see this email. B sent a WhatsApp message, okay, to A that I want to purchase your car for rupees 2 lakh. Now the offer is same from both sides. He wants to sell it for 2 lakhs, he wants to buy it for 2 lakhs. But they are both making offer to each other. He made an offer by email that I want to sell my car for 2 lakhs to B. B made another offer, cross offer to A via WhatsApp that I want to sell my car. I want to purchase your car for 2 lakhs rupees. B has not accepted A's proposal. A has not accepted B's proposal. Okay, it is not accepted. So now in this case there is no valid contract because it is not an acceptance as B was not aware of the proposal made by A. In this case it is only cross proposal, cross offer, and when two persons make offer to each other it cannot be treated as mutual acceptance. There is no binding contract in such a case. So tomorrow if A or B refuses to follow the contract, They can do so because nobody is bound right now. They both have made simple crossed offers and nobody has accepted the contract. We cannot bind people on the basis of cross offers. Essential of the contract says there has to be an offer and then there has to be an acceptance. Then only it will be an agreement. Otherwise, it will only be a merely a cross offer. There is a counter offer. When the offeree offers to be qualified acceptance of the offer, subject to modifications and variations in terms of original offer, he is said to have made a counter offer. Counter offer amounts to rejection of the original offer. It is also called a conditional acceptance. Okay. Now A says, I want to sell his red car to B for 2 lakhs. B says, change its paint to black, make it a black car, and then I'll purchase it only for 1.90 lakh rupees. In this case, this is a case of counter offers. He made an offer to B, B made another offer to A. Nobody has accepted anyone's offer, so in this case, no contract will come into picture. A offers to sell his plot to B for 10 lakhs rupees. B agrees to buy it for 8 lakhs rupees. It amounts to counter offer. It may result in termination of the offer of A. In this case, A's offer has been terminated. Any if later B agrees to buy the plot for 10 lakhs, A may refuse. Okay. Now, if later B agrees to buy the plot for 10 lakhs, A may now refuse. Why? Because A's offer stands terminated. When A made an offer for B to purchase my land for 10 lakh rupees, B made a counter offer. That means A's offer has been rejected by B and now B is making another offer. Tomorrow A does not accept B's offer and B finally says it's okay, I accept your offer and I'll buy it for 10 lakhs rupees. But now A may refuse. There is no binding contract here, okay? Because B has rejected his offers. Once an offer is rejected, until and unless it is again made by the offerer, the offeree cannot accept it. Standing or continuing offer. An offer which is allowed to remain open for acceptance over a period of time is known as standing or continuing or open offer. Tenders that are invited for supply of goods is a kind of standing offer. Okay, some there are like tenders. A offers to supply 200 kg of sugar by 29th of each month. Okay, this is a kind of standing offer. This is a continuing offer. Okay, it will keep on going on till the time he is supplying. Till the time, the moment he stops supplying it, okay, the offer will terminate. If he keeps on supplying and the other party keeps on accepting it, it's a standing offer. It will keep on going on. But if we stop supplying or the other party stops receiving, stops accepting, the offer will lapse. It will be terminated offer. Now let us understand the essentials of a valid offer. What are the essentials of a valid offer? We have done the essentials of a valid. We have done the general offer. We are doing the kinds of offer. We have done the essentials of valid proposal. Essentials of a valid proposal offer. It must be capable of creating legal relations. Okay. Now, in order for an offer to be a valid offer, it must be capable of creating legal relations. Offer must be such as in the law is capable of being accepted and giving rise to legal relationship. If the offer does not intend to give rise to legal consequences, and creating legal relations, it is not considered as a valid offer in the eyes of law. A social invitation, like we discussed, or a religious offer, even if it is accepted, does not create legal relation because it is not so intended. Okay, so when you are making an offer, in order the for offer to be valid offer, it must be done in such a way that when accepted, it creates legal relations. Okay, a social invitation, you come have dinner at my home, and now you have cooked a lot of food, but the other party does not come and the food is wasted. Now in this case there was no contract, you cannot take the other party to the court. Okay, because it was a social invitation. But here you say that I will grow such crop, and will you purchase it when it is harvested? The other party says yes, I will purchase it at 30 rupees per kg upon the harvest. Then in that case this offer is capable of creating legal relations, so that is a valid offer. It must be certain, definite, and not vague. It must be certain, definite, and not vague. It must not be confusing. It must be able to be understood. If in the terms of an offer are vague or indefinite, its acceptance cannot create any contractual relationship. Thus, where A offers to sell B 100 quintals of oil, he says, I'll sell you 100 quintals of oil. There is nothing whatever to show what kind of oil was intended. There is nothing to show that 100 quintals of oil, but what oil? Is it palm olive oil? Is it olive oil? Is it sesame oil? It is mustard oil? Is it coconut oil? What kind of oil is it? Okay, so this offer cannot be accepted. This is not a valid offer, neither can it be accepted, nor can it create valid legal obligations. It must be communicated to the offeree. Offeree should come to know the knowledge. Okay, if offeree does not have the knowledge of the offer, definitely he cannot accept it. And when he cannot accept it, there is no question of entering into a valid legal contract between the parties. An offer to be made complete must be communicated to the person to whom it is made. Okay, it must be communicated to the person to whom it is made. Otherwise, there can be no acceptance of it. Unless an offer is communicated, there can be no acceptance by it. An acceptance of an offer in ignorance of an offer is not acceptance and does not confer any right on the acceptor. Okay, this can be illustrated in the landmark case of Lalman Shukla versus Gauridutt. We just discussed that Lalman made an offer, Gauridutt made an offer that whoever will bring my nephew, I will pay him a reward. Lalman brought the nephew, but he was not aware of the offer made by Gauridutt. So later on, he claimed the offer award and he was denied. It must be made with a view to obtaining the assent of the other party. Offer must be made with such a view that it obtains the assent of the other party. We have already discussed mere expression of interest, mere expression of willingness will not be a offer, valid offer. It may be conditional. It can be conditional as well. An offer can be made subject to any terms and conditions by the offerer. For example, offerer may ask for payment by RTGS or NEFT, that I will accept only electronic payment. The offeree will have to accept all the terms of the offer, otherwise the contract will be treated as invalid. Okay. So I say I will take it by RTGS or NEFT. Other party says I will pay by the cash. Now when the other party says I will pay by the cash, then my offer is nullified. Now he has become the offerer and now it is up to me whether I accept it or not. Okay, it will become a case of counter offer. So the offer made, whatever offer I have made, okay, it will have to be accepted that ways only. If there is any variation suggested by the other party, then that variation will become a part of, it will become itself a counter offer. Okay, and my offer will be terminated. Offer should not contain a term the non-compliance of which would amount to acceptance. Okay, offer should not contain a term in such a manner that if you do not do that, I will treat the agreement to be accepted. Okay, understand it with this example now. Thus, one cannot say that if acceptance is not communicated by a certain time, the offer would be considered as accepted. This cannot be said that if you do not reply to me within 24 hours or 14 days or 15, 30 days, then I will assume that you have accepted my offer. This is not a kind of a valid offer. A proposes B to purchase his Android mobile for 5,000, and if no reply by him in a week, it would be assumed that B had accepted the proposal. This would not result in a contract. You cannot take away somebody's right to not reply or right to silence as a acceptance. You cannot treat it as a valid contract. The offer may be The offer may be either specific or general. We have done the general offer like advertisements or the Carbolic Smoke Ball Company case, or it may be specific as well, which has already been explained. Okay, now in the next lecture, we will discuss about a different kind of essentials of the offer, which is which discusses between what is an offer and what is an invitation to offer, which is also a very important feature. But it is somehow bigger, and the time for this particular lecture is about to come to an end. So I will leave it here, and in the next lecture we'll discuss about the another essential, that is invitation to offer versus an actual offer.